So what kind of people are you talking to?
High-level government officials is what I'll say. And most of that is because that conversation is between me and them, and I don't want people speculating, but you can say high-level government officials I have talked to.
Well, that was always the speculation about, like, what would someone do if they became president? Well, the first thing I would do is I would tell everybody about the UFOs. I would ask immediately what's going on. And I always thought about it. I said, how many people actually know what's going on? And how much of the information? I mean, it's not like if they're dealing with something like this, like your experience, it seems like what you described is what is known. So it's this anomalous event where this thing defies our current understanding of technology, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And so what do you have? You don't have anything else other than that. Like, what other information does anybody have?
Well, I would say this because I've talked to Bob. We did
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, we did an event together, and I'll leave it to everyone it's up to you to believe Bob. I'll say this: Bob's a normal guy. Bob's not crazy.
He's not crazy at all.
Not at all.
That was the weirdest thing about talking to him.
But when you look at it and go, because I had asked Bob, I said what he describes in the technology when he talks about his story. I said, well, do you honestly think we could, reverse engineer it? I said, how long do you think it would take us? And his response to me was another 100 years. He goes, Dave, it was so far beyond. He goes, the stuff that he says he worked on. He's like, he was on your podcast because I watched it. Hey, there was no wires, and because I had asked him when he said you first described the ship that he got to see, he said, I used to say, they built it and then it was like wax and you'd heat it up. He goes, now I would say it was built with 3D printing because now with 3D printing we can build things literally from the ground up, and it's basically built as one, not panels, no rivets. It's just made. Right. And so when you talk about that and you go, well, it's still another 100 years. So you go, well, what if you had the technology? We still, if what Bob says is correct, we still don't understand it. And how fast would it take us to understand that? I mean, if it's driven by something that we don't even have on Earth, which is when he talks about that element, we can't create it. We can create it for a microsecond, and then it decays, and we go,
element
okay,
115.
Yeah. So I think we're still a long ways off. I'll argue with the people that go, are we really alone? I was telling Jeremy we used to go out on goggles. Out in the middle of the Pacific, there's no light pollution.
Goggles?
Night vision goggles, so we can see. Well, you go out at night, I'd be on like a tanker hop or something, just hanging out, not doing anything, driving around in circles with the autopilot on. You just turn all the lights down in the cockpit so you have no light pollution, and you just roll your head back and look up. There's billions and billions and billions of stars out there. And, I always look up because I'm like, are we alone? And I look up and go, well, if we're the only ones around, and everything I'm looking at, it's a pretty sad place. It's a pretty lonely universe. I asked my astrophysics prof that once. I said, you believe in extraterrestrial life? And she's like, of course not. And I said, well, there's billions and billions of planets. You think we're it? I mean, just the probability of it is you'd go, oh, there's probably something else out there, and I'm not crazy. I'm just opening up the possibility that we are not the only planet that has life on it.
I think people don't like to seem silly. They don't like to be foolish. And I think when people start talking about anything that's not proven or anything that's connected to a bunch of loony people that are making up stories, which UFOs certainly are.
Yes.
UFOs are connected to so many people that have made up so many stories. What was that gentleman's name from, you would know that guy, he was from another country, Billy something or another.
Billy Meyer.
Billy Meyer.
Myers, yeah.
Seems 100% full of shit.
Yeah,